Have you seen the debt in this country? I've been looking at some charts and statistics. It is literally a bell curve that goes straight up. You know, if your stocks and your investments looked like the debt curve does right now, you'd be super happy. But unfortunately, it doesn't. But it does make perfect sense. You see, we had this thing called the pandemic. They shut the entire world down. Some states were shut down for literally multiple years. And while that happened, people didn't really have the ability to go out and spend like we do today. So they started saving money, and they were saving money at unbelievable rates. And that savings was paying down debt at an unbelievable rate. Savings was going up, debts were going down. It was like, whoa. And then the world opened back up. And we could get on planes and we could fly around. And that's what people did. Revenge summer number 1 and then revenge summer part 2 right now. But what has happened and what you've seen happen is when everything opened back up, savings has been plummeting. It's at literally record lows, the savings rate in this country. But debt has been skyrocketing. So the one thing that hasn't changed, and I think you know it when you go out and have dinner or you're at the beach or you're doing things outside, people's lifestyle seems to be maintaining, which means they're maintaining this lifestyle on debt. And debt is what will crash almost every single household if the economy turns, if the markets go the other way, if someone loses their job, and all three of those things are likely to happen. So here's what I wanted to do today. I wanted to show each and every one of you how to get rid of your debt. I want to talk about the 5 ways to eliminate debt that every one of you can apply. Let's dive in. So let's dive into how to eliminate your debts the fastest way possible. Before we can talk about eliminating debt, we got to talk about this thing. You know what I'm pointing at? Your mind. We got to change your mindset. Because debt is a mindset. Whether or not you think it is or you don't think it is because we love to go out and live life. That's awesome. Nothing wrong with that. We like nice cars, nice houses, nice watches, nice clothes. We like to do nice dinners, and we like to have fun with our friends. But the problem is if you are spending more than what you're making, or maybe not even spending more than what you're making, but you're spending right up to what you're making. We call that living paycheck to paycheck. To maintain this lifestyle, you are messing up. We allow our emotions to get the best of us. Think about it. You go to a store, maybe you're with a friend and like, oh, that's so nice. That looks so good on you. What do? You don't really think, oh, I can't really afford this. You just go, oh, you put it on your credit card. No worries, I'll catch up with that later. I got a job and I'll just make the minimum payments. It's fine. And then you go and your car breaks down. You take it to the shop and they tell you what the repair bill is going to be. And then what do? You just buy a new car. And you don't even really think that it's anything because you're like, I didn't want to fix the old car. I'm just going to take on a bigger monthly payment. These are all mindset issues. You are allowing emotions to become more important than logic. If we just stop for a second and we just think logically about what we're doing, if we put off short-term emotional decisions for long-term sustainability, we will be much better off. But this is a really difficult thing. I know I can sit here and talk about it till I'm blue in the face, but this is the first place it starts. Mindset must change. You must look at this as a long-term process, because if you don't, you will keep living paycheck to paycheck. You will keep blaming other people when things don't go your way, don't look the way you want, and your future doesn't pan out the way you want. You will start becoming negative, not for any other reason than your own. You put yourself in this position, so it's time you take responsibility, and that too is a mindset. But I got some good news for you. Before we dive in, none of this is your fault. The fact that you're in debt, the fact that you might be living paycheck to paycheck, maybe even some of you are spending more than you make, it's not your fault. You have been preconditioned to think like this. Your mindset is just following what most of your life has told you to do. And what has it told you to do? buy the things you want, use credit for everything else, credit cards. We barely use cash anymore. We certainly don't set up budgets anymore. We just bring money in and let money go back out because that's what we've been told to do. We've been told to do that since school, and I mean high school. And then from there, none of it's gotten better. You see, we are not in a society where we are taught to save money. We are not in a society where we are taught to think logically. We are in a very emotionally driven society. So, it's not your fault, but it is your problem. And therefore, because it is your problem, it is your responsibility to fix it, and that's what we're gonna do in today's video. Let's move on to number 2. You're gonna hate this one, but it's okay. Budget. You need to set up a budget. Now let me show you how easy this is. What I want you to do is I want you to just grab yourself a piece of paper, okay? Just grab a piece of paper, and I want you to draw what's called a T-chart. That's right. Nothing difficult about this. It looks like that. And then what I want you to do is I want you to, on one side, write income, and the other side, I want you to write expenses, and we can put debts here too. So this is kind of what it's gonna look like. We are literally creating a budget. Nothing hard about this. So income, you're gonna have maybe one income, maybe a couple, but I would recommend if you only have one income that you get yourself a secondary supplemental income. So maybe you got your W-2 income from work, okay, but then maybe you've got a little side hustle, 1099 income. Hey, maybe you did some passive investing, so you got some K1 income. I don't know, whatever it is, I'm just gonna write hustle money. I'm just gonna write hustle money. So each one of these is your income. Now what I want you to do when you've got all these, I just want you to draw a line and I want you to total them up. What is the total amount of your income? And this should be done annually and also monthly. So you're gonna want 2 amounts, and the most important number we're gonna focus on is monthly. So let's just say you added that up and your monthly income is $5,000, okay? That's your monthly income. So there we go, that's your income. Now, this is gonna take a little more work. We're gonna go over to the other side and we're gonna write down all of your expenses, okay? So we're gonna write down your normal expenses, not your debts, just your expenses. And I want you to think about this. Grocery, and I know when I do this, I hate it. I want you to write down the amount, and I want you to do monthly and also annually. We're gonna figure this out monthly and annually. Groceries, diapers, I mean, hey, I don't know, any of you got diapers? So we're writing down all of our expenses. Groceries, diapers, entertainment, clothing, maybe you got some rent or, mortgage, but if you got a mortgage, hold on, that'll be a debt. Okay, utilities, insurance, add them all up. Great, came up to $2,500 a month, perfect. So now we know our expenses are $2,500 and we know our income is $5,000. Now the income, the one thing I want you to be careful of is your income should be the amount you take home. That could be pretty easy for some of you if it's W-2 because it's going to show you the net. Do not figure your gross income because you will not do well with that. You got to factor the after-tax income. Now here's another important thing. After you do that, we're going to draw another line. This is going to be your debts. Now here's one thing I'll preface on debts. Debts are my favorite thing to talk about because I know how to turn your debts into assets. I know how to build wealth through your debts. It's very simple, but I need you to write down all your debts. These would be things like maybe your mortgage, okay? So your mortgage, I wanna know, again, monthly and annual payments. That's all I want you to do. So you got a mortgage payment, you got a car payment, but here's what else I want you to do. Next to each one, I want you to write down the remaining balance, okay? And I also want you to write down the remaining balance, I want you to write down the interest rate. So it'll kind of look like this. If you had a mortgage and your mortgage was $450,000, okay, that's how much was left, and you did it at a 3% interest rate, that might be, I don't know, I'm just making numbers up, $1,500 a month, okay? Probably a little more than that, but we're just gonna go with that. Then I want you to do the same thing for your car, okay? You got a car, you owe 10 grand, you're at 5%, and that car is $500. And do this for all your debts, your credit cards, your line of credits, all of them. Now, add them all up. How much money is leaving your family every month to debts? Okay, that's simple. Great, we got another $2,000 here. So all your debts cost $2,000. So if our monthly expenses were $2,500 and our debt payments are $2,000, See how we're getting really close to your income? Your income was $5,000. Your monthly expenses and debt payments are now $4,500. That means we have $500 every single month, and that is savings. Now, this is where a lot of people start to question their math. If you were this person and this were your budget, and you had $500 extra every month, that's the amount, that's the residual, that's your savings. It's the amount you're not giving away. How come you're not able to save money? Let me give you one quick thing before we move to the next topic. When you budget, most of the time, and for most of you, you're gonna find that you're actually not spending every single penny. And double check the numbers and actually have your significant other double check. Make sure you didn't miss anything. Great, you didn't? You're saving money. But when you look at your bank account, it doesn't look like there's any extra money. This is a very common problem. This isn't unique to you, so don't pat yourself on the back. Yep, I'm broke every month, but yet it shows I have $500 a month in savings. Here's what you need to do. Set up a separate bank account. Just go to the bank wherever you pay all your bills from, the one that you have a checking and savings at, and set up a second account, okay? And if you already have one, great. And what I want you to do is, I want you to set up an automatic transfer, or maybe some of you, this is even better. Set up a bill pay every single month. Have that bill pay you $500. And in the memo on the bill pay, just write savings and then deposit that check. And I know some of you are like, I'd prefer to just do the transfer because it's automatic. But you see, I'm doing this for a reason. I want you to see the physical check. So you hold in your hand your savings, because many people don't actually relate savings to actual money in the bank. Now you're holding the savings, and now you're gonna deposit it in that second bank account called your savings account. Now what you've done is you've mentally, remember the mindset part, you've mentally gotten yourself over the hump, and now you are saving money. Because if you don't do this and you just leave it in the same account, that account that you pay all your bills from, it is a black hole. There will never be any extra money. And if there is, you'll spend it because your mindset has not yet adapted to this new way of doing things. And remember, the first thing I said in this video, I'm gonna show you how to get out of debt the fastest way. These first two things are prepping you to get out of debt. At this point in the video, all of you, if you want, you can just stop because it's too much work. I don't want to create a budget. I don't want to save money. I don't want to have a bill pay sent to me every single month. Great, you can stop. But for those of you that are still with me, great. You're serious about getting out of debt. But you're also probably so serious that you would want to subscribe to this channel right here. And if you're so serious about getting out of debt, you're going to want to smash that little bell, because that bell is going to allow you to get all of my videos that I do in the future. You see this right here, this is Wilson, just like the movie Castaway, but we're gonna rename Wilson to Henry. This is Henry, and Henry is like your debt, so you're just gonna smash Henry right in the face, i.e. your debts. Let's dive back in, because now we gotta talk about the third way you're going to get out of debt. Okay, so now, you have now gone through the process of creating a budget. You have found that you have some savings. Now what are you gonna do? Well, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna apply something called velocity, okay? This is very important. We're gonna use velocity a couple different ways, but the fastest and best way to get rid of your debts is to use velocity. So let me just describe how this works. Right over here is that extra savings in that separate bank account. It's building up. Let's just say you got $1,000 saved up in that account. What we're going to do is we're going to take that $1,000 and we're going to come over here and we're going to pay your lowest balance debt off. And I'm just making up 1,000, maybe it's 2,000 for you, it doesn't matter. So we take the 1,000 out of that account, we pay off one of your credit cards or one of your debts at $1,000. Great. Now what happened, folks? Took money from the savings, that separate account, we paid off your debt, so we got rid of $1,000 debt. Yeah, now what? Some of you would do nothing else, which means you're not tapping into velocity. But if you really want to pay your debt off the fastest way, what we're going to do is we're going to take that same payment every month that you were making to that debt that we just paid off, and you're going to put it back in the account where that $1,000 came from. We're literally going to recycle and recapture money you were giving away, and we're gonna recycle and recapture the interest rate that you were paying to that debtor. So that $1,000 debt we just paid off, you're gonna make that same payment back. And how you do this is you just set up an automatic transfer or a bill pay. You wanna make as much of this automated, because if you don't, you'll forget, life will get in the way, you'll get caught up doing other things, and this won't happen. But if it's all automatic, the whole goal here is we want this to be one big circle. We want this to look like this, okay? Which the only way to do that is for your debt payments to come back to the original source, which is that account, okay? At this point, that bank account that you set up, that you were then putting your savings into. But now you're not just saving money there, that $500 a month. Now what you're doing is you're recapturing the interest of the payment you used to make on that $1,000. This is called velocity. You're taking back the velocity of money that you were giving away. This is how you turn your debts into your savings. This is how you build wealth through your own debts and expenses. Does that make sense? Now, in that separate bank account that you set up, you have the $500 a month plus the payment you were giving away to that debt you just paid off. So now that's gonna build faster. And once that builds, you're gonna take the money and you're gonna pay off the next lowest balance. And then after that, the next one, and the next one, and the next one. All of this will put velocity on your side. You will get out of debt much faster if you do this. I did mention something in there that we have not covered yet. So I've seeded, as we like to call it, an idea. And that's number 4, structuring of your debts. You see, a lot of people think that they should pay their debts off that have the highest interest rate. A lot of people spend a lot of time and money trying to pay off their debts with the highest interest rate. That is not the best way to do it. I already mentioned that you want to put the lowest balances first, and you want to organize from lowest to highest balance, okay? That is what we're talking about here. Structuring your debts from lowest balance to highest balance. No regard at all paid to the interest rate. Matter of fact, if your lowest balance debt that you're making monthly payments on was 0%, that's still the first one you pay off. And I know you probably have other ones that are 29% that you're like, well, that makes no sense. I should pay the 29% off before I pay the 0%, right? Wrong, because you must tap into what I just mentioned, velocity. And the only way to do that is to structure your debts from lowest balance to highest. Now, although I want to put a disclaimer in here, that may not always be the fastest method. We have a thing called Debt Blaster, which allows us mathematically to see the best way to pay off your debts. But for today's topic, I just want you to think lowest to highest balance. Fair enough? Great. So we are getting really close to paying your debt off the fastest possible way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the final 5th way. Now this is a little unconventional and there's not a lot of people that will tell you to do this. But what I want to do is I want to have your money, your savings that you were putting into that other account, I want that money to work for you 24/7. Because up to this point, in order to save that money, you have had to work for the money. You have had to trade hours for dollars. But now what we're going to do, because you've followed the first 4 steps, is what we're going to do is we're going to have your money work for you 24/7. How do you do that? Well, the only way to do that is to change where that savings goes first. Now, I know some of you are like, well, wait a second, Chris, you already told me to open this separate bank account. You told me to put my savings in there and recapture and recycle all those debt payments into here. Now, what do you want me to do? Well, I want you to take exactly the amount that you're putting into that account, and I want you to change where you put that savings. Because if the money's in the bank account, follow me here. If the money's in the bank account and we save up $1,000, when we take that $1,000 out, how much is left in the account? We started with 1,000 and we take 1,000 out to pay off a debt. How much is left? 0, right? So how much interest is the bank paying you on that account with a 0 balance? It's not a trick question, folks. 0. So what if we changed where that $1,000 was, and then when we took the $1,000 out, you still got paid interest and dividends on that $1,000, even though you used the $1,000 to pay off a debt? Wouldn't that be cool? And then you take and recycle and recapture every one of those payments you were making on the debts like I taught you, and you put them back into this account. So if we take $1,000 out of the account, we take a loan from our private bank, then we put whatever the payment is for that debt we paid off back into your bank to pay down the loan that we took out. So now you're applying everything we went over. And let's just do a quick recap. The first thing, change your mindset. You know, Will Rogers said something profound. He said the biggest problem in America is not what people don't know. He said the biggest problem in America is what people think they know that just ain't so. So that's the mindset. We need to start tapping into the things we don't know. That's true. And how we're doing that is we are following a process. Number 2, budget. Do the work to create the budget. And then number 3 was the extra amount that you're saving. The extra amount you're saving, we're gonna use that money in a separate account, and now you know we're gonna change where that money goes. We're gonna put that money, as number 5 said, into a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy from a mutually owned company that pays dividends. But I got ahead of myself. Let's just talk about velocity. We're gonna tap into the velocity of money by paying off debts and recycling and recapturing the money you were giving away. After that, I talked about structuring your debt. That was number 4. Number 4 was to put your debts from lowest balance to highest balance. Forget about the interest rate. And number 5, get your money working for you 24/7. And the only way to do that is change where it goes first. And where we're gonna put that savings is into a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy from a mutually owned life insurance company that pays dividends. We can help you do this. We can help structure it because this is not a normal whole life. But by doing just that one thing and using the proper life insurance company, your money can work for you 24/7. And it's gonna work for you through this thing called uninterrupted compounding interest. Folks, if you follow these 5 steps, if you apply these 5 steps in your life, you will get out of debt the fastest way possible. And you know why I know this? I know this because we've got the software called a Debt Blaster that allows us to mathematically prove it. So folks, if you want the mathematically proven way to get out of debt, if that's something that sounds good to you, well then what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna go up into the description of this video and you're going to watch another video. And that video is right here. This video will teach you the infinite banking concept. This video will teach you everything I just showed you. And then after you watch it, book a call with my team and we will help set up your Debt Blaster program. Thanks for joining me for this episode. We'll see you on the next one.